Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Assalamu alaikum rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome to another episode of Dawah Ilallah. We welcome all our guests from all over the world who have decided to break from society and everything else that can distract them from watching television and decided to tune into Peace TV. Congratulations for making the most important decision of your life, and that is to gain information on how to help people come to Islam. So there's no greater responsibility for a human being than to see and want someone else to come to salvation. That's what we are talking about when we are talking about calling people to Islam. The protection of Allah. And it's something that we need to applaud every human being on earth who has done this. Whether you're a born Muslim or you revert to Islam, or if you're inquiring about Islam. Perhaps you're watching for the first time and you've heard about this strange white guy who speaks in a strange way, and you tuned in today. Welcome, and we ask Allah to guide and direct you as you keep in your search and your struggle to find truth. Many times of self-discovery. And as they discover themselves, they realize how insignificant they actually are. Many people, they say that when people study philosophy, they find God. Philosophy is the study of man. When people study philosophy, it leads them to God. The very thing that they wanted not to happen is the very thing that happens to most philosophers. People have the idea that when you study philosophy, it'll take you away from Allah. Because you suddenly realize, you suddenly understand that, you know, the questions that we're trying to find answers for just have more questions attached to them. None of the satisfactory answers that we thought we would find actually make any sense. And so they look at Hinduism and Buddhism and Shintoism and every other ism in the world. And normally, port of call. Most people have gone everywhere else before looking at Islam. You hardly ever find people going, I'm now going to look for truth and figure out the meaning of life. Let's go look at Islam. Islam is normally the last place they look. And why is that? Well, the media mostly. The media and sometimes us as Muslims, we're not very good examples. So there are people that have done this very brave act of searching for truth. And millions of people every year around Islam, they have to understand that once they become Muslims, they've got to tell somebody about it. They've got to become da'is themselves. They're going to tell someone. It's a requirement when you become a Muslim to speak about being a Muslim, to tell people that you're a Muslim, or to call other people to the same belief that you have. You'll often find that when somebody embraces Islam, they will world to know that I became a Muslim and that I said there is no other God but God, and that the Prophet Muhammad is the final messenger of God. You'll find people doing this. But most people today are a bit worried of what to do next. You know, religion is a very sensitive topic in society. We are very cautious about how to speak about spiritual issues. And no matter what your position is on spirituality, whether you're one of these are not such super da'is, they want to be more quiet. No matter who you are, still you know that religion is a sensitive topic. You have to be cautious of how you talk to people about religion. Now, talking to your family about the choice that you have made in this life to become a Muslim can be a very difficult one to do. And it can be one that is very, very uneasy. It can be something that can cause division, can cause your Picture, if you will, this scenario. A Seventh-day Adventist, since we did it on the program already. Imagine a Seventh-day Adventist, 16-year-old girl. She decides to say, La ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah, and submit to Allah. And she starts learning about Islam. And after 6 months of being a Muslim, she decides it's now time to tell her family. Her family will hear this and they will reject her. So what happens, and her culture reject her. Her schoolmates reject her. And she's thinking that it'll be all nice and easy, but sometimes the Muslim community that she comes from will reject her as well. Why will they reject her? Because they're not sure if she's really a convert or not. Maybe she's a spy. Maybe she's not sure what she's doing. Maybe she's converted because she's found a boy, a Muslim boy. All these doubts are in the minds of the Muslims. So this poor little revert, this little 16-year-old girl, is sitting all on her own. She can't go there, she can't go there. It's tough to be a revert. It's tough to be a woman revert. Men should be a little bit more thick-skinned. Women are a little bit more emotional. It must be tough. How difficult it is for a person to revert to Islam. So we have to be cautious of what brings. Because of this scenario, you don't want to be in isolation with no support structures. Perhaps the person that you took the Shahada through will be your support structure. But what happens where the vast majority of the people that we are seeing today who are coming to Islam are not coming through a person, but they're coming through the internet. So the only person that they know is someone who's living 1,000 kilometers away, 500 miles away, on the other side of the planet, or other side of the earth. So they've got no support structure. There's nobody in. So if you're in South Africa and someone did dawah to you and they're from China, how are you going to get the support structure that you need? So this is why today's program is important, on how to tell your family that you're a Muslim, how to tell your community you're a Muslim. And this is the importance of how to do this, because if you do it wrong, there's a great danger that you're going to be in isolation. To help you, because they're too far away. I unfortunately get this all the time, people saying, do you have somebody in such and such a place that can look after this brother or this sister? And I have to hunt around to look to who's going to not teach her nonsense, or who's not going to not teach him nonsense. Who is a good person? Because most of the people these days are coming through the internet, coming through the social networks. That's how they're becoming Muslim. So when somebody reverts to Islam, it's a very slow process. When you become a Muslim, you are going to suffer from withdrawal symptoms, just like somebody who perhaps was an alcoholic or a drug addict. When a drug addict stops taking drugs, he doesn't automatically go, well, I am no longer a drug addict. He still has withdrawal symptoms. He can't go to those places that he went to before. He has to change his friendship circle. He has to even change perhaps some of the family members in his life that enticed him to drugs or caused him to do drugs in the first place. To functions, lunch, breakfast, supper, where there's going to be alcohol. So maybe he is going to have to be very cautious of who he's around. The revert is no different. You might have to change a lot about your life. But the alcoholic doesn't want anyone else to know he was an alcoholic, because he might be ostracized by the community. He might even get fired from his job when he stops drinking. And the drug addict will not. Once he's got to a certain level in his rehabilitation, then he'll probably tell everybody, because then he knows he's not going to fall back into those problems again. So he's got enough distance from his problem for people to go, we didn't know you were an alcoholic. If you had have told us a long time ago, we would have been able to help you. And he says, no, well, that was a year ago, you know, I managed to get over it. So yes, if you tell everybody that you've been 1 week out of drugs, what do they think? He'll fail. Don't we all think that? Because it's a reality. 3% of people who go to rehab don't ever go back to drugs again. The rest do. It's a terrible, terrible success rate, because there is no 12-step program that's going to help you, unfortunately. That's why you must never start. Once there's hardly an opportunity for you ever to be cured. No matter how many years you're clean, you will go back to it. So this is why we say don't do it. Those of you who have come out of drugs or alcohol, it's because you found Islam that you have the strength not to go back. Without Islam, it's impossible. You will never make it. Or if you do, you'll be one of those 3%. But we're talking about reverts, and reverts need to be dealt with in the same way. You need to have a period of time where you're able to distance yourself from where you came from. The reason I say this is because you'll get so much negativity that people will throw upon you if you tell them straight away. Let's take a break. When we get back, we'll continue with this, inshallah. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. We're talking about reversion of family or friends or community that you became a Muslim. In the same way as a drug addict or an alcoholic would leave a bit of time so he can get into the program before telling people, in the same way, so must a revert. Because a revert goes through the same withdrawal symptoms as an alcoholic and a drug addict does. First Christmas, first Easter, first public holiday. What about Sunday services, the communion, the fellowships, the music, the camaraderie, the brotherhood? So we find it very difficult for the revert. So he has to give himself time to evolve and develop into the system that is Islam. So when a person, before going and telling his family about his reversion or her reversion. So I would suggest a period of time, it can be anything from 2-3 weeks to a year. There's no reason for you to go out immediately and tell everybody. Depends how much education you're getting and how strong you will be and what support structures you have in place. If you've got no support structures, wait a year. If you've got lots of support structures, you can do it within 2-3 weeks. So you need those support structures to help than to do it on your own. If you do it on your own, it sometimes can be very difficult to tell them how you reverted because you don't know all the terminologies, maybe don't know the exact way to explain it. At least if somebody who is a Muslim is with you, they can explain it in a better way, preferably a da'i. Don't take a imam or a mufti with, because they'll get too technical. Not that they can't do it, they can do it, but they tend to be too technical. And so a da'i has more practical knowledge on how to deal with situations. You need to be more grounded in the trenches of how to deal with it. So when you sit your family down or sit your friends down to tell them about your reversion to Islam, it's like that big chat. And they are going to be scared when you call a family meeting in the first place. If you call your friends and you sit them down, they're also going to get scared. Most people are going to jump to the conclusion that you're about to tell them that you're either taking drugs or that you're gay or that you're a Wiccan or a witch or something. They're not expecting you to tell them what you think. So be prepared that you don't want to put unnecessary fear into the people that you're about to talk to. So have it in a relaxed environment. Perhaps go for a walk at the beach, go to an open area. Preferably don't come out and tell them that you're a Muslim inside a house or inside your bedroom or inside the kitchen. Preferably do it outside, public place, not in a restaurant, not in a coffee bar or anything like that, because then again, these scenes can be caused. When you're outside, then it's nice, it's got enough distractions, time for them to think. Places away from bedrooms, away from things like that where doors can be slammed and scenes can be done. So rather have it in an open area, preferably in a natural environment somewhere. So when there is a picnic planned or when there is an outing planned, that's a good time to do it. Don't do it if your parents have planned a whole event and you're going to go to the fun fair or something. And then before you get into the fun fair, this is where you tell them. You'll spoil everybody's day. Because there's going to be a scene. This we know. This you must. Glad you've decided to reject Jesus as God. Now they're going to be happy with that. They're going to be very upset. So you must be prepared that the environment must be in an open place, preferably, place for you to get away from being grabbed. No objects around and no small spaces. So when you sit down and you speak to them or you're out in the open and you talk to them, understand that you're going to have to do this in a very gentle, very clear way. You must know where you're going. If you have been a Muslim for a year, for example, and then you decide to tell your family, which is what I prefer people to do. Even my reverts in South Africa, those people who do classes with me, I normally do classes with them for up to a year. There are film stars, there are sports people, there are well-known celebrities that have reverted over a year ago already, and nobody knows yet. It's not in the newspapers, not in the magazines. They reverted over a year ago, and they will come out when or personally, and I told them not to say anything until they've got to a certain period in their growth. Then they can tell people. Why do we do it this way? We do it this way so that when they tell everybody that they've been a Muslim for a year already, people go, but you haven't changed. I mean, for the worse. You're still the same person, just maybe better. And they go, ah, that makes sense. Now I know why I didn't act in that movie. Ah, now it makes sense to them. And instead of them being something negative, it turns into something positive. Maybe your mother and your father, they've watched you over the last year become a better daughter, a better son, a more trustworthy and reliable friend. And then when you tell them, they go, that was the improvement. We knew it was something, but we didn't know what it was. We didn't want to say anything because we didn't want to jinx it. That's what most people will say. We didn't want to mention that there was. So this is the benefit of taking your time to tell them. So they see a benefit in you becoming a Muslim, and less likely that they're going to have a negative response. But sometimes you can still have the negative response. You still have people saying, oh, what has happened? My son, my daughter. Especially if you come from a very religious background. But generally speaking, it'll still help you when you say, but did you see me get worse? You saw me a better person, not a worse person. And try not into comparative religion with your family or your friends. Don't say to them, yeah, but the Bible this and the Old Testament that and the Vedas this and the Sharia, you know, the Sharia this and the Sharia that. Don't do that. Because you've just told them about your reversion. You don't want to go into attack mode. That can be done with the next year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years. You have now telling them about your decision to embrace Islam. Not to attack what they hold true. So this is a time for a peace. And the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ knew how to prepare wars properly. They didn't go blindly and go, all right, let's just go attack. Let's just hope this is going to work out. No, there was strategy, there was planning. The Prophet Muhammad ﷺ took advice from the people, even if sometimes he followed it, sometimes he didn't. He took advice from the people. So we need to make sure that we do the same thing. When we go through, take it slowly. Say, this is my step. I became a Muslim. I've been practicing Islam for the last year. I know that you of Islam. And as the years go by, or as the weeks go by, the months go by, then you can start using comparative sciences. But don't go day one with that. That's just going to make them more upset with you. So we're asking that in the same way as Islam was given to you in stages and steps, and you accepted it in stages and steps, so you must give the dawah to your family and your friends and those colleagues of yours at work in stages and in steps. Let them see something different. Waiting for every single opportunity for you to do something wrong to say, ha, see, because you became a Muslim. Ha, that's why, because you became a Muslim. So they're waiting for you to fail. So you have to lift it up a notch. You have to be better than you ever were before. You're required to be a better person than you ever were before. It can be difficult. It can be hard. It's not fair, I know. Some of you might be saying, but it's not fair. It's not fair, I know. It's just it's now time for you to be a best Muslim. Not a good Muslim, not a better Muslim, the best you can be. And your best will never be good enough because every year it'll get better than last year, inshallah. So keep going forward and make sure that you have the support structure if possible. They're going to say to you, you're going to go to hell, my daughter. You're going to go to hell, my son, because you became a Muslim. this is your opportunity to explain Tawheed to them. So we're doing slow dawah, slow work with them when you revert to Islam. Don't give them the same way as you came to Islam, they're going to have to learn to accept it in the same way. So nothing was forced on you, you learned it from stage to stage. Make sure that you explain to them the most important things. Who is Allah? First important thing. You can get to prophethood, you can get to all the other things later. Step one, when you explain why did you become a Muslim, for however long it takes until they understand why. They think, oh, you've gone, you're following a false prophet, or you're following a false religion. Don't even mention anything else other than Allah in the beginning stages. The next stage that you talk about is the prophethood. Then you speak about the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. You compare and explain his role and what he did. Then you can deal with issues about Islam, like jihad, because that's going to be the next hot topic. Explain to him what it meant. Clothing, why your clothing has changed and why you dress the way you do. Common questions that often are asked about Muslims. You can download Dr. Zakir Naik's one, you can order the book from Questions Asked of Muslim. Very, very good book to have. An essential part of all people who have just embraced Islam's collection. Dr. Bilal Phillips has a series on how to do dawah. You can get that, download that, that is important. So all reverts, what you need to have before you go speak to your parents and you tell your parents and your family and your friends, 2 important pieces of equipment, outside obviously your knowledge that you need to know about Islam, is Dr. Zakir Naik's book on